Welcome, everybody. My name's Jeff St. Laurent. This is the Tuesday Live Show coming at you each and every week. And today's topic is mastering the ask for business. And we must master the ask. If we don't ever ask for business, I'll say it like this, we'll never get any business. Now, will we get some business? Of course we will. But if we're asking, we're going to obviously increase our chances and our odds of doing that. I'm going to go over that a little bit more today. I record all of my Tuesday live shows. I put them on my university, sellingcoaching.com. I help coaches transition to a full-time business with all the great structures and marketing and figuring everything out from nuts to bolts, from ground zero and well beyond, into earning great income for yourself, earning more than enough so this can be your full-time business in whatever capacity you want that to be. Check out my great resources at sellingcoaching.com. If you want to start right off on the homepage, if you enter your name and email, not only is that going to put you into my community so you can receive communications from me on a weekly basis, but also it's going to give you a great audio resource, which is called Launching Your Coaching Business, the first 3 vital steps. So with that being said, let's talk about mastering the ask for business. Now, there's the saying, ask and you shall receive. We've all heard that before. It doesn't mean that it's a guarantee, ask and you will receive. It's just you shall. It's at least opens the door. And one of the things that I've consistently told myself over the years, and I've worked with my students on, is that I'll ask them, at a given time, and I'll say, well, how many people did you ask this week? And this could be, when I say mastering the ask for business, this doesn't just mean you're asking people for coaching, like to coach with you. Like, hey, will you coach with me? Will you hire me as your coach? Like that could be part of it if it's appropriate in the situation. But mastering the ask for business could mean simple things like asking for help, asking for ideas, and that's actually a big part, in my 5-month group mentor coaching program and my one-on-one mentor coaching. When I start helping my students with a marketing plan, one of the first things I teach them is the ask for help and ideas. That's something that I've done in the past, especially when I got started off with, is asking for help, asking for ideas. And it's not coming from a place of desperation. Oh my God, please help me. I don't know what to do. Or I need to get paid, so I need help. I need ideas because I'm ignorant. Or it's nothing like that at all. It's an enthusiastic ask for help. It's an enthusiastic or passionate ask. Like, what ideas do you have? It's going up to people and saying, listen, you're a networker. You've been doing something for a while, or you're well connected, or you're creative, or you fill in the blank. Something about, what is it about that person that or that you've observed where you feel like they might be able to help you, but help you with ideas, or maybe something specific. If they've said something specific, like, oh, I couldn't help but notice, or I know you've been connected to, or I know you've been connected in this circle or work at this company or something like that, where you might ask, listen, here's my little story. I've recently launched my seminar and coaching company where I'm doing some talks around these topics, mindset, energy, whatever it is, and I'm looking to do some speaking engagements, and I couldn't help but ask, or I couldn't help but notice that you're connected to this company, or I know you're a very creative person, or I've seen that you have great ideas over the years. If you know that person, I'm wondering if you'd be willing to get on the phone with me, or get together, or do a little Zoom where maybe you could help brainstorm some ideas on how I could get my message out there, where or who I could speak to if I were to set up some speaking engagements, some seminars, things like that. So this mastering the ask for business isn't like going in for the kill, so to speak, and like, oh, will you hire me for your coach? Yes, that comes later on. But what I find is in the beginning, it's mastering the ask, help, ideas, creativity. Who do you know? Where can I go? How would you do this if now that you understand my business and what I'm trying to do a little bit more? Who would be the first person you would call? What would you do? Things like that. So that's asking. And asking is something that a lot of us are afraid to do, or not conditioned to do. Asking for help sometimes can be seen as weak, or we can perceive it as weak, or like, well, we don't want to come across like we don't know what we're doing. You don't have to know what you're doing. Just because you're asking for help doesn't mean like, oh, this, how are they in business? They don't know what to do. No, it's just more, I did that all the time. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm talking around these topics. I'm super excited about it and I want to get out there more. What ideas do you have? Who do you know? Could you help me, figure out, ways I could get in front of more people? Or do you know of any other networking meetings or any opportunities that might help me get my message out there? People love to help in that instance. But like I said, the energy is very different in terms of me coming at it from like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. This sucks. Like, can you please help me? I'm frustrated. I just like, I need to get some coaching clients, or I just need to get some speaking engagements. Nothing's working. Like, what ideas do you have? Like, it's a completely different shift in terms of how you approach it. Now, you might be feeling that frustration if you've been doing it for a while. However, if you shift your energy around it and you do it from an enthusiastic and passionate place, the ask for help and ideas, is a great way of doing that. Now, moving on from there, this is some of the deeper things I teach. I teach in some of my webinars that I do, things like that, as far as I can go, but also when I work with my students one-on-one in my groups, really understanding the qualifying process, really understanding, the needs of somebody, the timing of that, what they're looking for, what they might need. When we start to learn a little bit more about somebody, when you start to hear something that they're going through, a challenge that they're going through, something that they're struggling with, these observations. Now, this can be in a conversation, in person. That actually still happens these days. It can be virtually, like it could be seen. This is where some of you that are on social media in different groups, like a Facebook group or on other social platforms, if you're seeing someone, someone that you know, someone that you don't know, that's sharing something that could be frustrating, things like that. If you're opening up a conversation with somebody, I couldn't help but notice, I'm so sorry to hear that you're going through this challenge right now. And you open up a side conversation, maybe in a private message, etc. And they don't have to know you. And again, we're not diving in like, oh, consider hiring me as your coach. Yeah, that's asking for business, but mastering the ask is there's an art to it. There's an art to asking. There's an art to understanding the appropriate situation. The appropriate situation, as I teach, is more in terms of understanding when someone has a need, someone that is, expressing that they're frustrated with something or that they want to take something to the next level, or there's some energy around their communication where you can tell something's going on, and then opening up a conversation to begin to extract and uncover maybe what might be going on. And that's where, as you start to learn this, and this is where I've gotten so much of my business over the years, is just opening up conversations with people face to face, online, messaging, things like that, email. Not because I want to ask and I want them to hire me, of course, like it's a different energy. Not because, oh, I need or want business. It's more of like, I have a service that I can help people with. I just need to be able to find the people who are in the situation. That's the challenge of marketing, right? So when I'm opening up conversations, I ask questions, I start to uncover needs that they have. And then once I find that, oh my gosh, they're going through something, et cetera, oh, they're struggling with something, or they want to get better at something, that's where I can ask. This is where mastering the ask starts to come in, when it feels appropriate. And in the language around that, and saying, hey, listen, and even if it's sooner than later, I've said things like, listen, I know we've just met, or I know this is, I don't normally ask this early on in a relationship or this early on in a conversation, but in our brief, communication together, it sounds like you're struggling with this, or it sounds like you're really frustrated with this situation. And I couldn't help but ask if you'd be willing to take a closer look at how I might be able to help you if you were to work with me as your coach. Again, I don't know if this is something you're even open to or would even consider, but like I mentioned, I felt compelled to ask because after hearing your frustration, I know I can help. Of course, if this is something you're not interested in, please be open and honest with me. Love to hear your open and honest thoughts. And if you are interested, we can continue the conversation, right? So that's a longer approach. But I use, if you notice the words that I use in there, it's very permission based. It's very it's leaving them in the driver's seat, and it's a needs based ask. So the art of asking for business in this sense is it's a needs based ask. I'm asking based on a need that I've now uncovered or understand at a certain level. Now, obviously, in conversations, you're going to understand the need at different levels. In this little scenario, it was more at a superficial level. I got a sense of it. That's why I kind of framed it around, or I put some framework around it in terms of like, hey, I normally don't do this so early in a conversation, but I can't help but ask if you'd consider blah, blah, blah because of this. And if it's not of interest to you, no worries at all, but I felt compelled, right? That's the language around the structure that I use. And that framework's there because I don't want to scare this person away. I don't want to come across the way some people do in sales is, hey, why don't you hire me as your coach? Or like, I can help you if you were to hire me as your coach. Why don't we get on a call, right? That's very leading and pushy. Whereas the other way is it's just presenting a potential opportunity, and there's a reason I'm presenting this opportunity. But if this opportunity isn't of interest to you, no worries at all. There's more of a compelling reason why I'm asking. It's almost like a sense of duty on my part because, like I said, I know I can help. And again, I've been doing this a while, so I can say this stuff because I've done this thousands of times over the years. My objective with this for you today is start to expose you to it, start to allow you to start to hear it, to see how it lands, to see how it feels, to see how you can start putting yourself in situations where you can start to see where you could potentially ask. All the way from the spectrum to the beginning, asking for help and ideas, all the way down to potentially asking for business, asking for speaking opportunities, things like that. So for instance, now it's not from a client standpoint. Now it might be more from a standpoint of, maybe you're in a situation, social situation, it's summertime, you're at a barbecue, you're at a pool party, whatever. And again, you have to understand better the situation, social situations, and where it may or may not be appropriate to ask, right? You're at a supermarket, you're at a networking event or a barbecue, very different. Like the supermarket and the barbecue is very different than the networking event. The networking event is for networking, business networking. So you could be a little bit more forward and direct because people are there in that sense. So if someone is there at a networking event and they have a company of employees and they're telling you more about that, and maybe they're talking about some of the challenges they have with their employees, and you say, listen, you know what, I have a seminar and coaching company, and I actually do some talks around these very topics that sounds like, based on your frustration with your employees right now, sounds like some of these topics might be valuable for you. I'm curious, would you be open to furthering this conversation, or would you be even open to exchanging contact information so we can carry on this conversation to maybe talk about what it might look like if I were to come in and do an event or talk to your team, right? So I could be more aggressive and straightforward in that regard. On the other hand, if I'm at a barbecue or a pool party, and you meet someone and they're sitting there, you're having a drink or something like that, and you're just chilling, and you meet someone and they're talking about something where you're thinking like, oh my God, this would be a perfect coaching client, or oh my gosh, this would be a great speaking opportunity. That's where, before you go or before that person goes, depends on how much you know them or not, you can go up to them and say, hey, listen, it was great meeting you. Before I go, I was wondering, would you be okay if we exchange contact information? You're going to have your phone. They're going to have their phone. You don't need a business card. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I got to pull my business card up. You're by the pool. Like, you know what I mean? It's like everyone's going to have their phone, I would imagine, for the most part, right? So I've really enjoyed meeting you. Great conversation. Thanks for having me over. I'm wondering, would you be willing to exchange contact information? Because there were a few things you were talking about earlier. It was more business related with your company, or you were talking earlier about some of your frustrations at work or frustrations wherever. And I might have a couple ideas or solutions for you that I wanted to follow up with, obviously outside of this space. Would you be willing to give me your email? Or if you give me an email, can I shoot you an email right now so you have mine and I can follow up with you later on? If you ask casually like that, and if you notice, I'm not diving in and going too far, like, oh, I'm just wondering, I figure I could help you as a coach. I know you're frustrated, so I want to follow up with you. No, it's just casual. Like I know you were talking earlier. I could sense some frustration around what you were talking about. I might have a few ideas for you, a couple of solutions, but I didn't want to bring it up now because we're having fun, and that's more business related. Would you mind if I sent you an email? Do you text? Could I text you your number so I can follow up with you afterwards? Very, very easy. And if you had some decent communications and you're respectful, that's asking. And that's going to start to allow you to open up your network, open up conversations, and that is going to lead towards more business. So hopefully you found this helpful. I'd love to hear any takeaways in the chat. So if you're obviously watching this live, which some of you are, love to hear, or just say hi or hey, what's up? I'd love to see who's actually showing up at these. But if you have any takeaways, I'd love to see in the comments, just like, oh, Jeff, this was great because, or I connected with this, or this was helpful. I always like to, see what people are receiving from this information. And obviously, if you're in a position where, this is valuable for you and you really require more help and you would value some of my guidance and mentoring, I would just say go right over to sellingcoaching.com, which is my website. Go to the Work With Me page and fill out the form at the bottom of the page. I'll follow up with you directly and we can create a relaxed conversation and go from there. Until next week, create a great week and see if you can start to apply some of these